There is a mental switch that can make you push harder, last longer, and feel nothing when most would break. But strength like this does not come free every time you use it. You leave something behind. Focus sharpens while emotion fades. Power rises while presence falls. The question is, how far are you willing to go before the cost outweighs the strength? Dear friends, this brain hack, often spoken about in modern mental performance circles, is nothing new to ancient traditions like Shaolin. It is the idea that if you can learn to control the mind, the body will follow. That what limits you is not the muscle or the bone or the breath, but the thought that whispers, "I cannot." To those who follow the inner path, the boundary between ordinary and extraordinary strength is made not in the gym or on the battlefield, but within the quiet space between thoughts. The mind, once disciplined, can bend the body to its will. It can make the legs move even when they shake. It can make the hands hold firm when they tremble. It can make the heart go on even when every part of you wants to surrender. This is what many call inhuman strength, but to us it is simply clarity. From a young age in the temple we are taught to sit still, not to train the body but to train the mind. We are taught to watch our breath, to feel the pain in our legs when they fall asleep, to hear the noise in the head, the restlessness, the impatience. We are taught not to react, because reaction is weakness. To feel is human. To be moved by feeling without discipline is to be a slave to it. You want to be strong, so you lift more, you push more, you resist more. But what if I told you that real strength is not in the push, but in the stillness that allows the push to exist? Let us say you run, and the body screams. You want to stop. That is natural. The body sends the signal. Pain, fatigue. You slow down, you give in. But one day someone tells you, just keep going, and you try. And suddenly you realize something strange. The body was lying. You were not finished. You had more. It was only the thought of the pain, not the pain itself, that made you quit. This is the crack in the wall. Once you see it, the whole wall begins to crumble. The barrier was not the body, it was belief. That is when the mind steps in. If you do this again and again, the brain learns, it adapts, and soon it stops sending the signal so quickly. It says, perhaps you are serious this time, and it waits. And you run further and lift heavier and break limits. You begin to feel like you are becoming more than human. This state has many names: flow, no mind, extreme focus. But it is the same principle. The body serves the mind, not the way around. When the mind is fully aligned with purpose, undistracted, then the energy flows without resistance. This is the power of intent. A clear purpose shines like a light. Every part of you begins to follow it. This is why warriors in history could run for days, why monks could sit for hours in the snow, why a mother can lift a car to save her child. These are not myths. They are moments when the mind refuses the normal rules, when the brain stops protecting and starts serving. But make no mistake, this is not natural. The brain wants to protect you. That is its job. So when you train it to do the opposite, you are going against its deepest wiring. You are asking it to let go of comfort, to risk danger. This is why it feels like power, because you are overriding the system. But this is also the first danger. If the brain learns to silence pain, what else might it silence? If you teach yourself to keep going no matter what, when will you stop? When the bone cracks, when the breath collapses, when the heart fails. These are not warnings. They are truths witnessed again and again in those who walk this path without wisdom. They learn the hack, but not the discipline. They learn to push, but not to listen. This is not mastery. This is blindness disguised as strength. So while the first glimpse of this ability feels like awakening, it is only the beginning. Now you must ask, what is the purpose of this strength? Who is it serving? Why do you want to be inhuman? Is it to help others? To protect? To serve? Or is it to prove, to dominate, to feel powerful because you feel small? These are hard questions, but they must be asked. Because the stronger the tool, the more damage it can do in untrained hands. The power to override pain, to master emotion, to push past exhaustion. It is real, it can be trained, it can make you feel like a god. But the truth is this: you are still human, you will always be. Even when you feel invincible, especially then, because that is when you are closest to forgetting, and forgetting is where the real danger begins. So train the mind, master the focus, use the brain as your ally, but never forget the reason why. Never forget the wisdom, that balance is strength, that silence is power, that the highest mastery is not to become more than human, but to become fully human. This is the beginning of strength beyond limits, but also the beginning of responsibility beyond ego. The deeper you walk on the path of inner strength, the more subtle the challenges become. In the beginning, everything is clear. You are weak, you want to be strong, you lack focus, you want clarity. So you train, and soon the body responds and the mind sharpens. You feel powerful, but this is when the second layer of difficulty begins. Because strength without direction is like a sword in the hand of a child. It can cut, but it does not know when or why. And this is where many fall without seeing the fall. There is a difference between discipline and obsession. But the line is not bright, it is thin like a breath. It hides beneath noble words like dedication and sacrifice. You tell yourself you are working hard, you are staying focused, you are giving everything to your path. But look deeper. Is it your path, or are you running from something, using the excuse of progress to avoid stillness? Are you training from peace or from pain? Discipline is built on understanding. It is the decision to act with awareness, to follow a rhythm that supports life. It listens to the body, it respects time, it welcomes rest. It is not weakness to pause, it is wisdom. Obsession does not pause, obsession cannot hear, it only knows more and more and more. It does not care for balance, it burns through time, it ignores the signals of the body, it sacrifices everything on the altar of a single goal and calls it purpose, but it is not purpose. It is hunger without end. You wake up early, you train harder, you stay longer, you believe you are becoming stronger, and yes, the body changes. Yes, the skills improve, but what is the cost? You miss your child's smile, you forget how to laugh. You carry a tightness in your chest that you cannot name. And when you sit in silence, you feel empty, not full. This is not mastery, this is imprisonment dressed as dedication. The mind is clever, it can justify anything you say. You must push through because you have dreams and people to prove wrong and a legacy to leave behind. But all the while your spirit is whispering something else. It is asking, do you remember why you began? Not the outer reason, the inner one. The feeling that first called you to the path. Not to become better than others, but to become whole again. Many students ask, how do I know if I am disciplined or obsessed? I tell them, sit still, do nothing for 1 hour. Not move, not scroll, not plan, not think, just breathe and observe. And if you feel peace, it is discipline. If you feel panic, it is obsession. Because the obsessed mind cannot sit. It fears stillness. It fears what will rise when there is no action to drown it. The obsessed mind is full of fear. It chases strength, not because it loves strength, but because it hates weakness. It does not lift because it feels joy. It lifts because it feels unworthy. It does not train to serve others. It trains to defeat the voice that says, I am not enough. And that voice is endless, unless you turn and face it and speak to it, not with anger, but with understanding. If your strength is built on fear, it will crack when the fear grows bigger. If your focus is fueled by pain, it will fade when the pain shifts. But if your discipline is rooted in awareness, then it will hold through every season, through joy, through grief, through growth and loss, because it is not reacting, it is choosing again and again with clear eyes. I have seen many strong warriors fall, not in battle but in silence, alone in their rooms. When the lights are off and there is no one to impress, and the body finally breaks because the mind forgot how to care for it, they chased a version of strength that had no heart, no breath, no softness, and now they must learn again how to be human, how to feel, how to rest. So ask yourself, are you becoming stronger or are you just becoming numb? Are you growing or are you running? Are you listening or are you forcing? Every moment is a chance to return to balance, to shift from obsession back to discipline, and it begins with one breath, one choice, one honest look in the mirror. True discipline makes you gentle. It teaches you how to hold your power, not how to throw it. It teaches you patience. It teaches you when to act and when to wait. It teaches you that silence is also a form of strength, that retreat is not the same as defeat. It shows you how to walk tall without stepping on others, how to speak clearly without shouting, how to be fierce without becoming hard. And you begin to see that real mastery is not in the extremes. It is in the steadiness, the quiet consistency, the ability to keep showing up, not to conquer, but to connect, to deepen, to refine, not just the body, but the whole being. The one who trains with discipline becomes strong, yes, but also calm. The one who trains with obsession becomes fast, but also blind and tired. Eventually the body will slow, the energy will fade, and in that moment what will remain? Not the records, not the medals, not the praise, but your relationship with yourself. If you built your path on obsession, the silence will be painful. If you built it on discipline, the silence will be peaceful. So continue to train, continue to challenge yourself, continue to walk towards strength, but let the path be one of wisdom, not reaction. Let your power be guided by purpose, not pride. And never forget that the goal is not to become unbreakable, it is to become whole again. This is where the path turns inward and where real strength begins. When the mind becomes strong and the body follows. There comes a moment when you realize something unexpected. All the noise that used to distract you becomes quiet. The pain that once stopped you becomes background. The resistance you once feared turns into fuel, and you begin to feel invincible. Not in the way of ego, not immediately, but in the way of feeling untouchable, as if nothing can break you anymore. And this is when something dangerous begins to grow, not outside, but inside, quietly, without sound, without warning. It is the cost hidden within the strength. The ability to suppress is powerful. It is the same skill that allows a monk to sit motionless for hours in freezing cold. It is the same mental discipline that lets a soldier keep moving forward when every cell screams to stop. It is the same inner fire that drives a fighter to keep standing even when his vision fades. This ability to silence pain, to push through emotion, to override natural signals is real, and it is trained over time, breath by breath, moment by moment, until it becomes natural, automatic. But what happens when suppression becomes the only way you operate? What happens when you no longer hear the signals of your body, when you no longer respond to the whispers of your spirit, when you become so skilled at ignoring discomfort that you no longer recognize danger, not just physical but emotional, spiritual, relational? This is not strength anymore. This is the beginning of disconnection. And it often comes silently, not with a crash, but with a slow fading, a slow hardening of the senses. You ignore hunger because you are busy training. You skip sleep because you must finish your routine. You push through injury because you tell yourself to be soft is weakness, and slowly the voice of your body begins to quiet. At first, this feels like progress. You feel efficient, you feel focused, but then something strange begins to happen. You lose your appetite not just for food, but for life. Your joy becomes thin, your presence becomes dim. You are there, but not really. People talk to you, but you struggle to connect. Not because you are cold, but because part of you has gone inward so deep into the tunnel of pushing and controlling that you forgot how to be still and open and human. And even when you smile, it is distant. Even when you succeed, it feels hollow. This is the cause of unchecked suppression, not only in body but in soul. Pain is not the enemy, it is a messenger. Sadness is not weakness, it is a guide. Fear is not failure, it is a signal. Suppression turns all of these into enemies and teaches you to fight them constantly. So every moment becomes a battle, and even when you win, you are tired and you don't know why. The body holds what the mind avoids. It remembers the trauma, the skipped rest, the ignored emotion, and eventually it begins to break down. Not suddenly, but gradually. The stiffness, the tension, the illness with no name. And those around you begin to feel the weight of your silence. They ask if you are okay, and you say yes, because you have trained yourself to say yes even when you are not. And you start to feel like a stranger to yourself, because you do not know how to speak honestly anymore. And you tell yourself, this is the price of greatness. This is the necessary suffering. But deep down something knows, this is not mastery, this is escape. True strength is not numbness, it is sensitivity. It is the ability to feel fully and still remain centered. It is not the erasing of emotion, it is the embracing of it without being controlled by it. It is not the silencing of pain, it is the wisdom to listen and respond with clarity. When you suppress too much, you forget this. You think you are being strong, but you are actually closing doors inside yourself. And each closed door makes you a little smaller inside, even if you appear larger outside. You can run on this path for years, you can achieve much, you can impress many, but the question is not what you achieve, it is what you lose along the way. And if what you lose is yourself, your presence, your joy, your connection, then was it really strength? Or was it a mask you wore so well that even you believed it? There comes a moment when suppression begins to collapse, and it often comes in stillness, in a moment of rest, when the mind finally stops fighting and everything you avoided comes rushing in at once. The sorrow, the grief, the fatigue, and it feels overwhelming because you are no longer used to feeling. And some call this burnout, some call it breakdown, but it is actually breakthrough if you allow it. It is the body and spirit finally asking to be heard, to be felt, to be held. If you can sit in that storm, not fight it, not run from it, but breathe through it, you will find something deeper than strength. You will find wholeness, not the image of power, but the essence of it. The calm-rooted presence that knows when to push and when to pause, that knows pain not as enemy but as teacher, that knows joy not as escape but as truth. This is why we must not glorify the ability to suppress without wisdom. This is why we must teach not just how to be strong, but how to be well, to be clear, to be connected. Because the world does not need more invincible people, it needs more whole ones, more who can feel without drowning, more who can lead without forcing, more who can listen without fearing silence. So yes, train your mind, yes, master your body, yes, learn to go beyond limits, but do not make suppression your default. Let it be a tool, not a way of life. Let pain speak, let emotion move. Let silence teach, and you will find not just strength beyond limits, but presence beyond fear. This is the strength that endures and heals. When you walk long enough on this path, you start to notice something different. In the beginning, you were hungry to grow. You chased discipline, you learned how to push past the noise, how to overcome resistance, how to become strong, and that strength became your identity. But if you listen closely and observe deeply, there comes a moment when you begin to see the full picture, that the goal is not just to become stronger, but to become balanced. That true mastery is not found in going further, but in knowing when to stop. You begin to understand that the one who is always pushing, always climbing, always chasing is not always the strongest. Sometimes it is the most afraid of standing still, afraid of being with oneself, afraid of quiet. And in that realization you feel a shift. The path is not forward anymore, it turns inward and asks a harder question. Can you be powerful and soft? Can you be focused and gentle? Can you hold strength and peace in the same breath? The world tells you that extremes are impressive, that the one who works the longest, the one who sleeps the least, the one who sacrifices the most deserves the reward, but this thinking is only half true. What good is all the power if it isolates you? What good is speed if you cannot stop? What good is endurance if you do not know where you are going? These are the silent costs of living in extremes, and they are paid slowly through time, through lost moments, through quiet regrets that surface when it is too late. You may become faster than others, you may lift heavier, you may meditate longer, you may become what others call unshakable, but ask yourself, why are you doing it? Is it to grow or to hide? Is it to connect or to control? Mastery does not live in extremes, it lives in harmony. It is not always loud, it is not always visible. It is found in how you respond when no one is watching, in how you carry yourself when nothing is going your way, in how you treat others when you feel strong enough to ignore them. The body needs tension and release. The mind needs focus and rest. The heart needs movement and stillness. Nothing in nature thrives in one direction alone. The tree grows up and down. The breath rises and falls. The wave crashes and recedes. This is balance. And balance is not weakness. It is the art of knowing when to apply effort and when to let go, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to hold on and when to release. This is not easy, but it is necessary. When you forget balance, you begin to burn from within. Slowly, the passion that once lit your path becomes a flame that consumes you. Your relationships thin, your spirit tightens, your joy fades. You are still moving, but it feels forced, like a machine, like a performance. You smile, but it is heavy. You show up, but something is missing. The reason is not outside, it is inside. You forgot that the goal was never to become something other than human. The goal was to become more fully human, more awake, more aligned, more whole. Power without softness becomes violence. Clarity without warmth becomes coldness. Structure without rest becomes prison. And strength without balance becomes burden. We do not train to become gods. We train to become present, to become useful, to become alive and aware and connected. We do not grow to rise above others, we grow to serve them with more capacity. We do not endure to become numb, we endure to remember what we are capable of and to use that not for ego but for good. Balance teaches you when to go and when to return. It teaches you that the hardest move is sometimes to stop, to listen, to rest, to allow. And in that stillness you find yourself again, not the image you built, not the title, not the role, but the simple being who was there from the start. The one who knew how to laugh without needing a reason, who knew how to breathe without controlling, who knew how to love without fear. This return is not regression, it is refinement. It is the closing of the circle. It is the wisdom that says I can still go further, but I do not need to. It is not quitting, it is knowing that enough is sometimes the highest form of strength. It is not laziness, it is intelligence. It is not soft, it is clear. It takes strength to rest in a world that glorifies burnout. It takes courage to slow down when everyone is speeding up. It takes presence to choose harmony over ambition. Mastery is not built in a day, it is shaped by thousands of small choices. The choice to pause before reacting. The choice to breathe before judging. the choice to listen even when you want to speak, the choice to rest even when you could push more. These choices are quiet, but they are powerful. They form the foundation of a strength that does not collapse when challenged. They form the presence of a human who is not only skilled, but also wise, not only sharp, but also kind, not only driven, but also rooted. And from this place you lead differently, you move differently, you inspire, not with noise, but with depth. You walk into a room and people feel peace, not pressure. They feel space, not performance. This is the energy of someone who has trained deeply, but not only to become strong, to become still. And from that stillness, everything grows with clarity, with purpose, with trust. So keep training, but train for balance. Keep growing, but grow with care. Keep building, but build with breath. Let your strength include softness. Let your speed allow pauses. Let your fire make space for water. This is not the easy path, but it is the real one, and the one that leads you not just beyond limits, but back to yourself. This is where mastery truly begins, and where peace truly stays.